So welcome everyone to this quick start basics for network marketers, and this is core number 10, which is create a monthly massive action plan. We are so glad to be with you tonight. We are here to help you build a profitable and strong and successful network marketing business. Our purpose is to help people grow, to educate, equip, and empower network marketers and create independent servant leaders. So if you are ready to grow your business, you are in the right place. These are the 10 core commitments that have proven successful for decades among network marketers. First, just want to let you know what's coming up this week. As you know, our MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, which a whole lot of you have joined in. Jeff and I did this for a year and a half at noon Eastern Time every Monday through Friday for a year and a half. And we taught leadership. And then we taught a leadership class inside this school as well. Those MLM Lunchtime Leadership shows are on hold for now while we revamp and we recreate that Wednesday night class into something very, very special, which we're going to share with you very soon. So I think you're going to like that because a lot of people have been asking to learn what we're going to be teaching on Wednesday nights. So stay tuned for that. We are hearing you, we are responding to you, and bringing you the most important things for your success in your network marketing business. On Tuesday nights is a class that I teach privately, but you all are invited. It's called Real Conversations, and it is for network marketers or even people outside of network marketing. It applies to business and life. It applies to health, wealth, love, relationships, communication, weight loss, spiritual fulfillment, but also most of the people in it are network marketers and bring blocks that they run into. Because we may have the skills, we still may be not as, we still may have fears or negative beliefs that can hold us back. We're just not quite as up to speed as we would be normally, or we might even be at a standstill. So that's where these mindset blocks get addressed really well and with a lot of one-on-one attention in that class. Tuesday night class starts at 9 o'clock. It's an hour long. You can call in and get coached, or you can learn from other people who call in and get coached. And if you like info on that, just private message me, and I'll get you hooked up on that. So I just want to read through the 10 core commitments. The 10 core, we cover one a week. So in about 3 months, we get through all the 10 core plus the recaps for these. So this is what you learn in here. Number 1 is getting started right. Number 2 is be here a year from now. Number 3 is personal development. Number 4 is market daily. 5 is present daily. 6 is attend a weekly presentation. 7 is attend a weekly core training. 8 is attend a monthly regional. And 9 is attend all company conventions, and number 10 is create a monthly massive action plan, which is what we're covering tonight. Now those are the 10 core commitments, but what you really, really, really get inside of all those, I listed the benefits as well of being here in the school and in the academy. And that is that you learn the easiest, I'm very happy that we bring to you the easiest way to prospect and recruit that I've ever seen. My 10 years of being a curator of the top network marketing teachers. When I found Jeff's method, I realized that's the best that I've ever seen. And you learn in here how to always get a yes when prospecting and eliminate objections and rejection. And you learn how to bulletproof your business. You learn the laws of duplication. You know when to quit your job. You know the lies. You become aware of the lies that are told in network marketing. You learn the best way to call leads and the easiest way to get to recruit top earners. And you learn how to prevent attrition, how to overcome fear and procrastination, how to never run out of people to talk to, and how to make more money part-time from home than you do full-time at your job, how to fill events, how to motivate your team to self-sufficiently, and how to get your business running without you. So that's really, really what you're learning inside of these 10 core commitments. So you're in the right place. What we do is we go about 90 minutes with the lessons for this time, and they're new aspects every time that we cover. They're new angles and aspects. And then we turn the recording off and we hear from you. We hear your favorite takeaway. And then you can also, this is the time to get some live coaching and ask any questions that you want to as well, or share any insights. We recommend that you attend these classes. I'll say as long as you want to make money. The longer you attend them, the more money you make. But we also recommend that you attend them for the purpose of teaching your team. Learn this, keep attending until you can teach your team. We also give you certificates. So when you've completed all 10 of these or their replay, let Jeff know and he will issue a certificate. We have 10 levels in all. So when it's up to you to keep track of all this and what level you're on and everything, but we have 10 levels in all. That means going through all of these 10 times. And some of our class members tonight, I think 4 of you are on level 6. You're working on your level 6 certificate. So congratulations to you guys for being so front row and leading the pack here and being this committed to your network marketing profession, being this dedicated to doing a good job and attending these calls. Some of you are so regular and or you listen to the replays. So we're real proud of you for that. So let's begin now. Turn it over to you, Jeff, for the 10 core commitment, the 10th of the core commitments.
Okay, can you hear me clearly? Okay, first of all, I think there may be a little confusion. There's more than 10. It just says on their certificate that it's 10 core. What level? Not that there are 10 of 5 or 5 of 10 or whatever. I read that the other day and I looked at it and I was like, you know, that could be misconstrued because it's the 10 core. It could be misconstrued that there's 10 levels, but it's actually, this is a class you go back through over and over again, and there's way more than 10 levels. I mean, the guy who I learned kind of the basic 10 has been teaching it for 25 years, so, well, actually, 35 years. 36 as of this year, so I'm sure it's longer than 10, you know, being that you can get through it. He's been through it over and over and over again, and he actually teaches this entire thing in a 1-day to 2-day class, at least the 10 that I originally heard way back in the day. So that, to start out with, there are more than 10. And repetition is the mother of all skill, and when you get something over and over and over and over and over again, you will hear something completely different, unfortunately, every time you hear it. I still go through it. I've got a CD set, and yes, it has morphed a little from the guy who originally taught the 10 core. He was in one company teaching it, jumped to another company, taught it, jumped to the third company, so I have trainings all the way back to that very first time it was taught, and it actually came from a couple different people, and they kind of conglomerated it, and it morphed, as most things do, to whatever the advantage of the company was. So there's just some basic stuff you have to know, and we'll just rip through the basic stuff. The basic stuff is you have to learn how to get started right. And I have something really interesting on getting started right. I've always gone through this training, and I heard specific things, but there was something that I just got in the last probably week that I've been looking for years and years. And sometimes it's just a couple words, but sometimes it's a complete mindset, and this one would be a complete mindset on getting started. So I might as well start out with, like, this conversation I had dates back to, like, the very, very beginning when I first got in and first got started in network marketing, direct sales. I was 17, and basically they're like, well, if you're going to get started, I might as well start you the way that everybody gets started. So what exactly do you want? What do you want from this? And, you know, we wrote some stuff down, and I don't know what it was back then. I mean, it was probably just to develop an income that you know, when I got out of school, I didn't have to worry about money. You know, that was kind of it. I'd love to have a new car, because at that time I don't think I was driving a car. I was 17. I might have had a car. I think my stepdad negotiated some deal and got me something that was driving, but I wanted a better car. And I wanted money to travel. I know that I wanted to go some places, and there were some things I wanted to travel and do. What they were at that time, I have no idea. Go back, you know, when you were 17 and try to figure out what you wanted to do. My guess is some things have changed. So that's what I wanted to do, and he's like, all right, let's make a list. Now, he didn't really have any specification of who was supposed to be on that list. So I knew some people that weren't really good people. I knew some people that weren't really nice people. And I was 17, so my age range was basically 16 to about 18, and those were the people that I knew. And then there were teachers that I knew, and, you know, my mom, my parents, my friends, my parents, or my friends' parents, and then my immediate relatives. But just like everybody, I had this, like, list of people. I thought, you know, in the company that I was looking at, the top of the chart that they always talked about, there were 6 organizations. So they said you basically need to find 6 people to run these 6 organizations. And I was like, I got them. I mean, I was new, but I was 17, but I'm like, I got them. I know exactly who would do this. And I just kind of, in my mind, picked those 6 people just like most amateur posers do. And I think eventually, over time, I ended up being able to show it to all 6. But out of those 6, none of them ever got in to do anything. A couple of them got in just to support me, like once I figured out what the hell I was doing. And I learned how to ask the right way to actually get in front of them. You know, because when I first saw it, I was like, hey, you know, hey, you need this, or hey, you'd be good at this, or hey, this would be amazing for you, or hey, you know, I mean, at least I understood that I had no influence and they had influence. I was like, look, I know I don't have any influence and you have all the influence, so if you did this, you would go really fast. And I remember my uncle coming back and saying, yeah, that's exactly why I'm not going to do it. I was like, oh, okay. He goes, because I do have influence and I am a financial planner and I do have a license and I have this. And, yeah, I just don't do stuff like that. Oh, okay. So I kind of approached it, to me, because of my background, I was 100% money. That's all I saw. That's all I wanted. Which, of course, wasn't a good way to go about it. And didn't get me anywhere. Since then, I have started many people, but here's what I did. I at least made a list. I attempted to contact some people, and I did have a meeting, and I actually had people show up, which is kind of phenomenal inside of the business itself. Nobody wanted to do it. Nobody got in. I didn't really, my parents weren't wanting me to participate in this, and since I was living at their house, I ended up having the first meeting, event, whatever, at my girlfriend's parents' house, which also was insane, that just the whole dynamics of it. And it didn't work out, you know, other than the fact some people came over and were like, yeah, this is stupid, I'm going to school. I mean, that's basically what my friends, you know, everybody was graduating that year from high school. They're like, this is dumb. This is work, and my parents are paying, listen to this, my parents are paying for me to go to school. I don't have to work. I don't have to do anything, and I'm more concerned with drinking, partying, and maybe showing up to class. Maybe. That was, you know, it's funny that, you know, when you're paying for it, you actually want to skip class more. I mean, which is really weird. When it's in grade school, you really can't skip class. There's nowhere to go, right? You go home and eat cereal and watch TV, I guess. So that's where I was, and I went out and tried to get people started for the next 20 years this way. I've always faced resistance. I've gotten a lot of people in, but I've never, other than about 7 years ago, I had a breakthrough. And the breakthrough was I had another conversation with one of the guys that was mentoring me who had made $1 million 5 different times. I've told you guys, many of you guys, about this, Tim. And Tim's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, you know, the first thing I ask them why they're doing it. I ask this, and I ask this, and I ask this. And there was this long sheet of all this stuff I was asking him. Tim's like, I wouldn't do any of that shit. I was like, really? And he's like, no. He's like, no, you don't need to do any of that. He goes, let me ask you a question. He goes, do you know these people? And I'm like, well, some of them. He goes, do a lot of them you don't necessarily know? Maybe they're cold contacts or leads, or maybe they're distant. I'm like, yeah, I'd say that. He goes, look, you've heard the statement that when people get started, they're at the height of what? I said, well, they're at the height of excitement, and they're also at the height of, you know, nervousness. They're nervous. They don't know what's going on. So they're excited and scared at the same time. He goes, you're right. They're excited and scared. He goes, which means they're going to give just a little itty-bitty window of effort and hope just to see what happens. And he goes, if you blow that opportunity, most people are out. I was like, okay. Not giving a lot of hope here, right? So I was like, okay, so obviously you're doing something different than I'm doing, so what are you doing? He's like, you know that sheet that you have with all that stuff you're asking? Throw that shit away. I was like, okay. He goes, what would make somebody excited getting in? And I was like, I mean, if they get somebody, right? If they get a customer or they get a recruit. He goes, exactly. He goes, so what I want to do is I want to build them up personally. I want to build them up, ask them their story. It's all about them. I want to know who they are. I want to know what they like. I want to know what food they like. I want to know where they'd want to travel to. I want to know what kind of cars they like. I want to know what kind of relationships they want. I want to know all this. And I just want to get to know them. And he goes, I want to basically build them up. I want to support them, congratulate them, and I also want to compliment them. I was like, okay. And I've watched him do this, and it's really kind of amazing. Beth and I were having a conversation about the most effective coaching method I've ever seen in my life. And this, by far, is the most effective coaching method I've ever seen. No amount of questions, therapy. I mean, I've seen people get threatened. I've seen people, you know, because there's many different kinds of, you know, there's Gestalt therapy, and there's you know, Freudian therapy, and there's these different kind of therapies. Tony Robbins, I like, you know, physical therapy where, you know, not physical therapy like where you're going to work out, but like the physical-based therapy that I know Bess also is attuned to and trained in. Body-mind therapy where what you do is what you... But this is, it's psychological, it's very deep, but those compliments add up. And basically he realizes he gets people up there to a point where they're like, I like this guy. And Tim's kind of a funny guy. I mean, at first he kind of scares a lot of people because he's so positive and sometimes over the top, but eventually he just gets to the point where you like the guy. And he goes, at that point, he's like, man, I know we're going to be able to do this. He goes, I know you don't know me, but if you'll trust me, if you'll just introduce me to the couple people that you've talked, because you've already talked about how cool your brother is, and you've already talked about how cool your friend is, and you've already talked about, you know, the boss or the guy at work. Like, he's gotten all the names already. Now, it just so happens that Tim kind of has a photographic memory, which most of us don't have. I was told I kind of have a photographic memory, but my mom reminded me that I never put film in it. So she always points out the fact that I forget things. So that was almost a joke, and it didn't work, but it's okay. Like, I didn't even get a smile. Like, Bess I could see, and Bess was kind of like, no, that didn't work. Kind of, maybe, somewhere, but didn't work. But Tim has a photographic memory, so he remembers. It's crazy seeing him do this, but he remembers everybody's name, and he'll spit back out. He's like, well, you've already given me 9 people. I was like, how does he remember this? He's like, you've already given me so-and-so that's in Destin, Florida. You've already given me so-and-so that's in Dallas. You've already given me so-and-so that's in New York. I mean, he remembers. Now, you can do this too. I'm telling you, anybody here could do exactly what he did if you had a tool in front of you to do it, which, because of 2 other conversations, I came up with this tool, and I just put it together, so I'm going to give it to everybody so you guys will have this. But he builds people up, he gets their name, and he goes, Jeff, what I want to do is I want to present 10 times for this person. I'm going to give them 10 times. And I tell them, look, I want you to put me in front of the best people because I don't have a lot of time. And he really doesn't. He's like, I fly all over the country, and I'm traveling, and this, that, and the other thing. So I never really liked necessarily this approach so much because Tim traveled all the time, and what I know is most of us, we don't travel all the time, right? Sorry, I'm looking for something. I sat down, and now I don't know what to do with it. Here it is. So, not all of us are traveling all the time, but Tim traveled all the time. So, Tim can say, hey, I only have this. So, he's like, well, you can reword it, and, you know, you can say, hey, look, I don't have a lot of time to spend with each person because we're going to recruit a lot of people, and I'm only, you know, here's what I'm willing to do for everybody. I'm willing to present 10 times for everybody. I don't like using that fear of I'm not going to help you after this either, because I'll help people indefinitely, and so should you, if you have the time, if it makes sense. But he gets 10 names, and he goes out and presents, and Tim's entire goal is what? Help them find one person. And he's really, 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 really good at it. Really good. I mean, he has like a 9 out of 10, where if you show 10, he'll find somebody. And what's funny is even if he meets somebody on the way there, walking through the door, like if somebody worked at the mall and he had to meet him at the mall, if he met somebody along the way at the mall, Tim's such a cool guy. He'd be like, oh my God, your guy didn't even show up, but I met this guy at Starbucks because I was already there. I talked to him. He's getting in and I'm putting him on your team. That's just the kind of guy Tim was. He goes, my goal is to help that new person get one new person. Watch this. How soon do you think you should get one new person for somebody else? What's the time frame? How soon should you do it? Tim said if it's more than a week, you'll probably lose that person if it's more than a week. He goes, I've seen it done in a month, but if it's more than a week, he goes, I kind of treat people like spoiled milk. If you leave the milk out on the counter for an hour, you're probably good. If you forget it for 2-3 hours, you're probably good. But if you wake up the next morning and it's still out, you're like, I don't know. Obviously, 5 days goes by, the milk's spoiled. It's really hard to recover at that point. But if you recover and you get one person in, he's like, what happens to the belief of that new person when they get their first person? I'm like, well, obviously, they go from, oh my God, I don't think this is going to work, to the opposite extreme, where, oh my God, this is totally going to work and everybody's going to get in. I said, especially if you're able to show 3, 4, 5 people and you're able to, the first 3 or 4 get in, get started, they think it's just that easy. He's like, exactly. He goes, from there, I get to the next person and I start them the exact same way. And then I get to the next person. Like, I've watched Tim do this, and I've watched Tim run a leg down 10, 15, probably as much as 20 deep in 30 days. In 30 days. Like, it was insanity. But he was doing it in a very, I would use the word unduplicatable would be the only thing I could think of. Unduplicatable because it fit Tim's personality. But when I questioned him on that, sort of like what I questioned Bess on, when we first talked and we were talking about the different methods, and she's like, this is set up for, and I was like, it kind of set up for half the people. Right? At least half, because half the people are S-type personalities, so it fits really well here. But I'm like, I think in like, well, what if this scenario, this scenario, this scenario? So I'm just running scenarios in my head based on the people that I've recruited and worked with, because I've recruited a lot of people. So based on all those people, I was like, here's a bunch of situations that might not work so well. I'm not saying it wouldn't work, it just wouldn't work so well. So I was kind of doing that with Tim. And Tim's response is, well, man, you just need to get him excited and make him... And he was just all or nothing. And I was like, okay, photographic memory, all or nothing. You're probably one of the most positive people I've ever met in my life. You probably have more energy than anybody I've ever met in my life. I mean, he makes me look like... I mean, just imagine your battery on 1% on your phone. That's me. Tim is like 10,000% on your phone. I'm not kidding at all. We almost got thrown out of a hotel because he was like, all right, let's do toe touches. And it was probably about 2 in the morning. And we were outside and we were talking about training and stuff. I don't know if it was this conversation about the 10 people, but it was something like that. And Tim he was a bigger guy, so kind of like Chris Farley or if you want to go back, John Belushi, you don't think that big of a guy can move as fast and as fluid as he could. But I'm not kidding. This guy could jump up and straight out splits, do the toe touch. And, yeah, we almost got thrown out of the hotel for doing this. Because you got everybody trying to do it, And the problem is not everybody was necessarily wanting to do toe touches at 2 in the morning. Some people were coming back from, we were in Las Vegas, I think, or maybe we were in Miami at that point. It was a really nice hotel. It was Orlando. We were in Orlando. And people were coming back from the club, and he has people jumping and dropping drinks. It was bad. But this getting people started right, is so important. And so I have this other conversation with this guy that I just met at this open house. He's been doing He's been doing network marketing for 21 years. Cool guy. Much more reserved. Like, much more reserved. He's from Iowa. And as he put it, things in Iowa don't move as fast as they do everywhere else. Which is pretty true if you've ever been to Iowa. I've been through Iowa. I haven't been to Iowa because I didn't have a reason to actually stop there. I just went through it to get to where I was going, which is what most people do when they travel through Iowa. But a reserved guy, and I know that he was successful. I mean, he makes multiple six figures. He's made millions of dollars inside of network marketing with one company. Been with 21 years, and I mean, here's how I know it works. He opened up his back office and he showed us December's check, and he also showed us that he has 97,000 active people on his team. 97,000 active memberships. Let me get this straight. 97,000 active customers, memberships, whatever you want to call it, customers. So you know it's working for real. And he said, well, before I really get anybody started, I have a list of specific questions, specific people that I'm asking for. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And he kind of gave me this list that he was asking for, like how he goes through and talks to the person, and be like, oh, really? Well, you know, who do you work for? And you know, who's your realtor, and who's your insurance agent? Who do you know who does this, and who do you know who does that? And I was like, I got done with this meeting, and I was like, that's actually genius. I mean, that's really genius, because for two reasons. And let me tell you what I got out of this conversation. I was like, I know that most people, when they get started, right, and this happened to Tim a lot, most people when they got started, let's say you sponsor somebody who's a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10. And what I mean by a 6 is I'm just going to use a 10 is somebody who makes 6 figures, who has a prominent degree from some university, who lives in the nice house, drives a nice car, has a nice family. Okay, that's a 10, you know, and what we're talking about. And a 6 is somebody who makes $60,000, which still isn't bad. And a 6 is only going to influence 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s. And let's just make it by income, just kind of for the sake of analogy here, just the sake of analogy. What I've always had a problem doing, and what Tim told me he sometimes had a problem doing, is that when people are scared, do they recruit up or recruit down? And the answer is they always recruit down. Always, almost without fail. Like, I can tell you from 100 people that I've gotten started, 99 of them have recruited down. And what I mean by down is if they make $60,000 and they live in the, let's just call it the nice neighborhood, they recruit at least one level down to $50,000, $40,000, $30,000 in another neighborhood that's not as big of a house, that doesn't have as much, you know, it doesn't have a 3rd-car garage. And I don't mean that by, you know, I'm not putting anybody down or building anybody up. I'm just kind of looking at the situation as, just so you guys see the analogy, right? And I was like, what I love about what this guy's doing, what I love about what this guy does, is he's specifically asking by category. So he's kind of, I mean, think about this for lack of better words. He's like, who do you know who's a 8, 9, or 10? He's not saying that. He's not saying who do you know who's an 8, 9, or 10. But he basically is asking for the people who are already an 8, 9, or 10. And that's absolutely genius. I mean, it's one of the smartest things that you could possibly do in network marketing. And I made a list of these 10 people that you should ask for. And it starts out with people that are really easy, that they have to know, and then it kind of goes into this list of other people that would be amazing to present to and get in front of. Okay? Just so happens that I have another conversation. And the next conversation I have is with another gentleman who runs a lead system. That's what he does. He was in network marketing, but now he runs a lead system. And he has 24,000 people in his not in his database, but signed up for his lead program. 24,000 people pay into his lead program and get leads from him. and he's a lead generation guy. And we were having a conversation about business and where he started from and how it worked and how it doesn't, and just language and personalities and beating the streets versus beating up the phone, you know, meaning talking to people like as you run into them versus just talking to people cold. Like, this guy picked up the white pages. Talk about dating yourself, right? He picked it. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm dating myself here. He's like, you know what the white pages are, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm 44. He's like, okay. I picked up the white pages, and we dialed cold to everybody that lived within a 10-mile radius. I was like, wow. He's like, you talk about rejection and getting used to getting hung up on, and told everything. Now, what's even funnier is he was cold calling in Boca Raton, Florida. For those of you who don't know, median income in Boca Raton, Florida is above average. Like, way the hell above average. In fact, a guy that I knew from Indianapolis moved to Boca Raton. He was worth about $150 million. That's a guy who makes some decent money, right? He had his own helicopter that he flew around to the different neighborhoods he owned, so that way he could see everything in one day and then get on a private jet and fly back home. He moves to Boca Raton, Florida, just to kind of give you an idea of the money there. And he's trying to build a house that's like 20,000 square feet on the, what they call the inlet of the water. So there's like the mainland, and then there's like a waterway, and then there's the intercoastal, that's the intercoastal, and then there's another like island-like strip of land, and then there's the ocean. So he's on the inside looking at the intercoastal, building a 20,000 square foot house that's millions of dollars. And the tile guy or something like that like didn't show up on time. And he's like, doesn't this guy know who I am? And blah, 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 blah. And the contractor turns around and goes, I know you're somebody in Indiana. I know that. He goes, but I want you to walk to the deck real quick. And the deck is like where you can see out to all the houses. He's like, that's that movie star, and that's that movie star, and that's that movie star. He goes, if you make $100 million here, nobody knows who you are, and nobody cares. He's like, that's like peanuts in Boca Raton. So just to give you perspective on this, you know, situation, it was just mind-blowing. That's where he was cold calling. I was like, wow, that's going to be rejection big time. So he's like, when I got somebody started, he goes, I kind of asked for the best 10. He's like, I'd always ask for their best 10. And he goes, what we were taught to do is we were taught to judge their influence on a scale of 1 to 10 by the people and the professions that they gave us. Who is your best friend? What is their profession? You make a judgment call on a scale of 1 to 10. And you go down the list, and, you know, if you just because I was in finance, I was in mortgages before, like if somebody tells me what their profession is and based on where they live, I have enough of a memory to kind of go, this is about what the median income on that profession is, unless it's a really weird one. But if it's like doctor, lawyer, engineer, you know, whether it's electrical or structural or chemical or whatever, like I have a basic idea based on the company they tell me he works for or she works for. You know, if they like, she works in social work, I kind of know what social work, like if you work for the government in most places, I know about what the, just because I looked at that information so much taking applications on mortgages, right? So this is how they were taught to judge. You're not supposed to prejudge, but to judge influence. Like, does this person have influence, or does this person not have influence? He goes, you're always looking for a person who has influence, who can then take what you're talking about to other people without a wall being put up in most cases. So he told me a story about how he did this, and it was kind of like all of a sudden, like the two conversations were like, they were kind of merging, and this conversation for Tim was merging. And I'm just going to bring this up real quick, and I'm going to read you about getting people started. I'm going to give anybody who wants this, I'll give it to them. But this is just a launch. And here's what I got out of it. First of all, there's certain things you can say. There's certain things you can say that you obviously know. It's like a line of questions you obviously already know the answer to. If you had to say, hey, do you want to have a great day or do you want to suffer? You absolutely know most people are going to be like, I want to have a great day. Like, nobody's going to say, you know what, I'd rather suffer. Nobody's going to say that. So this is where the last guy, Ryan, gave me this really cool line. He said, isn't it funny that in most of these direct sales network marketing companies, the very first thing they ask you is, what do you want and what do you want to do? He goes, can you imagine any other business starting like that? I'm like, it'd be disaster. He's like, exactly, ultimate disaster. He goes, you can imagine getting in insurance or getting in real estate or whatever, and the boss comes in, or manufacturing, and the boss comes in and is like, hey, look, I know it's your first day, and you don't basically know anything, but what do you want to do? What do you think your goal should be? Like, he's like, it is the dumbest question asked inside of network marketing. Dumbest, like absolutely asinine. Now, this is a guy with 24,000 people on his team. So this guy knows what he's talking about, millions of dollars in income coming in. I was like, okay. He goes, instead, doesn't it make more sense to ask this question? He's like, I have a goal for you that I think we can achieve in the first 30 days. I know we can achieve this in the first 30 days working together. I mean, it's such a better way to say it. And it leads with posture, is another way. Like, I didn't even think about that, but that's leading with posture. And watch this. He goes, if you're good with it, we can get started right away. If you're good with it, we can get started right away. Now, my immediate goal for you is to help you recruit one person onto the team that's also a customer of yours. That's my immediate goal. We want to do that immediately, like in the first 5 days. He goes, from there, we want to get a couple more people, and we want to at least get you to breaking even and even making some money. How does that sound? I mean, that sounds amazing to a network market. Like, all right, there is no get to $10,000 a month right away, although there are some people who can achieve that. I'm not taking anybody away. But we're talking about people who have never done this. They've never been in sales. They've never been in network marketing. They've never built a team before. They've never recruited before. Just average people who want to make above average income. Just average people. Just everyday people. Us. I have a goal for you that I'd like to help you with, and I'm going to give you this, that like I wrote this out so that way I can give it away, because I was trying to remember it. Like, this all came to me and I wrote it all at one time. So, simple, easy, fast way to launch a business. I have a goal for you that I would like to help you achieve in the first 30 days of building your business. If you're good with it, we can get started right away. My first immediate goal is to help you recruit one person that's a customer. Now, does that sound like you're trying to like take over the world? No. Does it sound like you're trying to get them to beat a bunch of people up? It's like a very like, okay, that's pretty reasonable. I mean, you know, for a new person, they're like, okay, this isn't rocket science. I don't have to recruit, because most people, when you say, oh my God, we got to get you started fast, we got to get everybody in. I mean, people are thinking, oh my God, I got to put 20 people in. I don't even know 20 people. We need to find one. Okay, now I know I'm looking for one person. That makes it easy. The second goal is about halfway through the month. We want to at least get you to break even, and by the end of the month, we want to help you make some money. Now, every company's going to be a little bit different. Every company's going to be a little bit different in that scenario, but the scenario is identical no matter what company you're in. Because I kind of was running the numbers off of a couple different companies that I've actually been a part of, and a couple companies that I know of, and I was like, this would really work across the board. So here's some questions. Just have a couple questions for you. You said yes. Let's say they're moving forward. I said, do you want your business to grow fast or slow? Now, what sort of person would say slow? I mean, everybody's got to say fast. Well, yeah, I want it to go. I want it to move. Okay, good. And the second question is do you want to make this really easy, or do you want to make this really hard on yourself? Don't you know that everybody's going to say easy? Yeah, I'd rather make it easy. I said, okay, good. Just want to make sure. So here's the plan. Here's the plan. I'm going to help you make a list of 10 specific people. Not anybody, but 10 specific people. And you'll understand why here in a second. And here's what we want to do. I want to contact each person and let them know we're working together on a project, and we want them to know about what we're doing, so if they run into the right person, they can refer them to us. I will present the overview to them with the following 3 objectives in mind. So we got 3 objectives we're going to try to accomplish. Number 1, we're going to try to educate people so they can refer us. Does that sound fair? Does that sound easy? Yeah, that sounds, I mean, you know, doesn't sound anything mind-blowing yet. Second thing is we want to educate them so if they wanted to, they could become a customer. Like, they'll know how to become a customer. They'll know how much, they'll know what to buy, everything. And third, we're going to educate them about the opportunity so if they have an interest, they can say, I want to know more. Those are our 3 objectives. Not mind-blowing, not rocket science, pretty easy. Everything so far is very similar to what I've always done, but it's slightly different. But the slight difference is you're able to lead people in the right direction with the line of questioning, and it makes it easier than it's ever been to kind of get moving. Now here's 3 things. I'm never going to pressure anybody. I'm never going to make anybody do anything, and I'm never going to do anything that would make either one of us uncomfortable. Is that cool? So are we good with this first plan? If they say yes, say okay. Here's the list of the following that we're going to get in touch with. So here's the list. The first thing is best friends. Who are your best friends? Who are they? What do they do? Best friends, who are they? What do they do? Now, most people have a few best friends. Most people are going to be like, I have 40 best friends. Most people don't have 40 best friends. Most people have a few. Now, if you get somebody that has 40 best friends, congratulations, you just hit somebody of influence. You hit the gold mine. Unless they're like running a gang or something like that. And even then, they have influence, right? 2, I just want to take inventory of the immediate family, because what I found is some families are willing to support you, and some families are not. Can I get an amen? No, I'm kidding. But that's true. You know, some families are very supportive and some families aren't. But watch this. I don't want to sign up your family, but I do want to let them know what we do. Now, if somebody right away says, I will not talk to anybody in my family, do we already know there's a big issue? Yes. I know right away. Like, if you are unwilling to tell your family what's going on, watch this. The way I do it, I don't care if you've been in 700 companies. Unless you've stolen money from these people. If you've stolen money from these people, I get it. Let's have that conversation. We'll figure it out. But unless you've stolen money from somebody, been arrested for being over at their house doing, like, if it's a weird situation. But if it's just that you've been in and you're scared, that's fine. Scared is fine. I just want to know who it is. So mom, dad, legal guardian, brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles, kids or grandkids, parents or grandparents, depending on who's alive, what's going on. I want to get a good idea. Number 3, insurance agents. Insurance agents. Auto, medical, homeowners, life. Why an insurance agent? An insurance agent's job is to do what? To go out and find more customers. Now, there are 2 kinds of agents, just so you know. There's captive and non-captive. Most of you have no idea what that means, but captive means people actually sign a document that says they cannot do anything else or make money anywhere else. It actually doesn't say that. It says you can't work for a competitive company. But do you know people lie? People lie. I actually had somebody lie to me about it, and I found their contract online, and I read it to them. I'm like, not only did you lie to me, but you don't know your own contract. That's what I did in the beginning when somebody told me that. I was like, that's weird. Who would be dumb enough to sign a contract for a job? Not a business, not something you're going to own, but who would be dumb enough to sign something that said you cannot make money from anywhere else? Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I went and looked at the contract, and he lied to me. And before, I had no filter, so I had no problem calling him back and asking him why he lied to me. I was like, are you really that low on the totem pole that you can't tell an 18 or 20-year-old kid that you're just not interested? I mean, is your self-esteem that low? I had no filter earlier. So I read a bunch of books, and I wouldn't say it like that now, but I might call him back and ask him if he's ever seen his contract or he's ever read it. So insurance, captive, non-captive. Financial services. Do you know anybody in financial services? Do you have, anybody that should do stocks or 401k or any of that? Have you ever done like any financial planning at all? 50% of America hasn't. 50% of America hasn't. So asking this question, what are you finding out? You're finding out, does this person have their life together or not? You know what? 50% of people don't. So guess what my objective is? My objective is if you don't, I got some people you need to meet. Man, this is so cool. Like, I have people that could actually give you some education on, no wonder you're in a situation that you're looking for more. 5, real estate agent. If they're living in a home, who sold you this home? Who sold you this home? Six would be mortgage or finance person. Now, let's say they don't have a house. Do you know anybody who's a real estate agent? Yeah. Okay, we can start with them. If you know one, are you friends with them? How do you know? They sold, is your brother, this is where I get back to family and stuff. Friend of a friend, acquaintance of a friend. 7 is a barber or hairdresser. Now, if I have a husband and wife, one of them gets their hair cut one place, one of them gets another. Now, my friend Tom shaves his head. My friend Josh shaves his head. So I always ask them, I was like, man, it's easy to find people, I was like, Josh, who's your hairdresser? He goes, me. I'm like, see, you've called you before. You've had conversations every day with yourself. 8, do you know anybody who's a personal trainer or coach of any kind? Now, why a personal trainer or coach of any kind? Because if you're a coach, you're going to know a lot of people. If you're a trainer, you're going to know a lot of people. You have to. That's how it works. 9. I put religious leader because there's many kinds of religious leaders, right? There's the Catholic Church and the Archdiocese. There's the Christian Church and pastors of churches. There's reverends. There's, maybe somebody who runs a synagogue. I mean, it's just there's different people. Mosque. It just depends on who you know. By the way, I've had people of every background and every religion on my team. Like more than I can. I mean, not every religion in the world, but it's been like 7, 8, or 9, and I've had stuff that I've never heard of. Because we've had people from outside the country, and I was like, I've never even heard of this. Tell me how that works. Like, I was just curious. So, religious leader of any kind. Now, why religious leader? I will tell you this, most of the time, religious leaders do not get involved in businesses. I'm just going to give you that. Like, most of the time, religious leaders do not get involved in businesses. But it's still okay to tell them what you're doing, because I just tell them right up front. What I'm going to show you, I'm not even talking about you having any involvement other than pointing me in the right direction. If you tell them that right off the bat and they know that you're not there for them, okay, I'm willing to talk. And I'm like, look, you don't have to give me anybody today. I'm just saying if you run into a person that this would be a good fit for. And typically because I put it like that, they're very cool. Like, I've never had a problem since. In the beginning, when I thought they had mass influence, I tried to tell them to use their mass influence to make money. Do you think that's why they got involved in the church? Or, some might have, but the majority are like, that's not what I'm here for. That's not what I'm here for. And they were very adamant in some ways of telling me that. And 10, do you know any business owners? 10 would be, do you know any business owners? Do you know anybody who owns a business? Be specific. Name off 3 or 4 businesses. Construction business. landscaping business, hair care business, what kind of business, pick 3 or 4 of your favorites and say, do you know anybody that owns these type of businesses? You just put together a influential list. Dave Roders here. What's up, sir? So you just put together an influential list. So just to kind of recap, real quick, Steve, how are you? This is getting somebody started. This is a launch. This is simple and easy. We're not going to ask for 100 names. We're not going to ask for their why. What we're going to ask them for is this is a simple, easy, fast way to launch your business and get it started. That's our goal. I have a goal for you. I'm not going to ask you what you think. I'm going to tell you, hey, look, I have a goal. I've been doing this a while. So you want this person, whoever's launching the person, you want this person to have been through this cycle a couple times. If you're not good at it, I'll work with you a couple times. If you have somebody new in, I'll work with you a couple times. Even if we're not part of the team, I don't have to talk to your person. I'll work with you, get you ready to do this. But I have a goal for you that I'd like to help you achieve in the first 30 days of your business. If you're good with it, we can get started right away. Immediate goal is to get one new person with as a customer. And then our second goal is in the first 2 weeks is get a couple more so you can break even. And the third goal is to get to profit. Is that okay with you? Yes. Okay, got a couple quick questions. Do you want to go fast or slow? We already know they're going to say fast. Do you want to make this easy or hard? We already know they're going to say easy. It's great. Here's the plan. I'll help you make a list of these 10 specific people. Now, you're not looking for everybody. We're looking for these 10 specific people. That makes it much like, okay, I can relax. We're looking for 10 specific people. We're not looking for everybody. I don't want to sell everybody in the Brothers Uncle. It's okay if everybody in the Brothers Uncle gets in, but that's not who I'm looking for right away. This is a plan to get to people who have influence. If you can get to people who have influence, people who are liked, people who are leading in a community, oh my gosh, it makes the business so much easier. So much easier. So if you don't have influence, you're looking for somebody who has influence. Just like if you're not good at talking to people, you need people on your team that are good at talking to people. If you don't have time, you need to find a couple people that have time. If you don't have any money, you need to find a couple good people who have money. Now here's what's interesting. If you don't know any of the people we just talked about, that's why you're going to do leads. Because your other option is to walk around Walmart and gas stations and walk this street corner. I mean, I don't know where you're going, but you just need to walk around and find some people, and that's going to take a longer time than going through leads. And then you're face to face. You got to get up, get dressed, drive there, talk to them, and then come back home. And that could take a while. I've seen people do it. It just takes even longer. So this is the plan. The second thing is you got to commit. You got to commit. It's a long-term business. I have friends that have jumped from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, and I've met people in the industry that are not looking for a home base. What they're doing is they're just trying to get into the newest, freshest, like whatever the newest, strangest, weirdest thing is, that's what they want to get into, and they're like, we're going to ride this for 2 or 3 years, get as high as we can, and then we're leaving to go to the next thing. I'm not looking for that. I was looking for something that I want to do one thing, and that's where I'm at. That's where I'll be. So that's why, everybody makes their own choice of why they get into what they get into. But the second core is find something you can lock into, and you have to be here a year from now still doing that thing. It's very hard to have success bouncing from thing to thing. And if you're married to 3 things or 4 things or 5 things, just look at it. I had this conversation with somebody just the other day. I said, look, if you're in 2 or 3 things and you're trying to promote 2 or 3 things, you failed before you walked out the door. Here's why. To anybody on the outside of network marketing, they look at you and like, you're not accomplishing this. How in the world would you go accomplish something else? Another way to put it is if you've ever met somebody that, like, I know I'm married, but I'm thinking about seeing this other person. What happens to that person's credibility? Gone. That fast. Gone. How hard is it to get that credibility back? It's hard. Really hard. Really, really hard. So committing and sticking to something is, I mean, it is the way. Now, I'm a customer of a bunch of stuff. I'm a customer. I like as a customer. But if you're trying to physically build 2 things, 3 things, 4 things, it's hard. I've met millionaires in multiple companies over the years. I can't say that I've met everybody. I've never met anybody that's what I would consider successful 6 figures or above that is running 2 simultaneously or 3 simultaneously. Never. I've never met them. I mean, you might know some. Now, I have met people in affiliate marketing, which is different. People like, oh, I know a guy that does this computer and that. Those are affiliate marketing programs. They're not actually dealing with people. That's a sales system online. They're not really launching, talking, building, networking. That's affiliate marketing. It's different. So besides the point, that's step 2. Step 3, personal growth. And the easiest way is if you're not growing, watch this. If you're not growing your team. If you're not growing, you're not growing a team, but you're also not growing your team if you're not growing. I know a ton of people in network marketing. They can say all the stuff like they've memorized the lines, but they're not growing. And here's why you know. Because they just repeat the same crap. There's nothing ever new. There's no breakthroughs. There's no differences. Now, some of them are just really good at that, and that's what they want to do, but they're not moving up income-wise. Because to move up income-wise, you have to change. You have to change the information. You have to change the output. 4, you have to market daily. You have to constantly get out in front of somebody new. Constantly get out in front of somebody new. Whether by advertising, by physical means, by phone, by text, by social media, you have to get in front of new people. It's new people. And here's the thing. If it's not working for you, it may not be that it's not that you're doing it wrong. You're just not doing enough of it. For instance, I can physically go to the gym every single day. And I can physically sit on the equipment every single day. But if I don't work out, am I going to get anything out of it? No. Some people are like, I've been to my meeting every week for a year and nothing's happening. How many people are you talking to? Well, I talked to this guy, Bob. I was like, you mean the same Bob that you talked to 12 months ago, 11 months ago, 10 months ago, 9 months ago, 8 months ago, 7 months ago, 6 months ago, 5 months ago, 4 months ago? Is that same Bob? Yeah. You talk to multiple people every month, not the same person every month. Some of you have that wrong. And I know you want Bob or Sally or Jane or Yolanda to get in, but if it's been a year, it's fine to keep in contact with them. But that's probably not your person. I mean, we're looking for people ready to go now. Like, I don't know what kind of time frame you have, but like, I would like to build a business in the next 2 to 5 years, which means I'm kind of looking for people who can get started and get things moving. 5 is present daily. 6 is show up to your weekly event or weekly open house. Even if it's online, if they do one online every single week, be on that one. Show up to your weekly training. That's 7. Show up to your regional event. That's monthly. Show up to your national convention. And the last part is a massive action plan. And the massive action plan we've kind of already covered, really. We've covered the massive action plan. It really boils down to a couple numbers. A, have you made a decision to do something? Have you made a decision to do something? You know, people, I love what people say. People are like, well, I'm just not motivated. I mean, Jim Rohn's probably one of the best to talk about this. He's like, if you're just not motivated, Earl Shelf told him the only reason you're not motivated is you don't have enough reasons to do it. You don't have enough reasons. You do not have enough reasons, you know, whether it be, you know, the other thing that I find is you don't have somebody that you respect to be accountable to. You don't have somebody you respect, you know, what do you gain from doing it? Because if it's just scary and that's all you gain from doing it is fear, that's not going to work. There has to be something else you gain from it. You know, everybody builds for a different reason. That's what I find. And it's not money that motivates. Because if money motivated, everybody knows that there's money in network marketing, right? I mean, there's 100 people. There's 100 people on a list that you can look up online that make over $1 million a year doing this. And there's approximately 20, what did I hear the other day? There's approximately 5,000 people, minimum 5,000 people every year that make over $20,000 a month doing this. So if it was money alone that motivated, everybody on here would be making money if it was money alone. But it's not money alone. There's all kinds of different reasons why people do this. And you have to find yours. But here's the numbers that it comes down to. If you present to less than 15 people a month, which is minimum activity. Minimum activity is 15. If you do less than minimum activity, what kind of results are you going to get? A lot of you are looking for amazing results with less than minimum activity. Could you imagine going to the gym 1, 2, 3 times in a month time for 10, 15, 20 minutes, because that's how long it takes to present, right? 10, 15, 20 minutes. You go to the gym maybe 1 to 5 times in a month, and you literally look at the trainer in the eye and be like, your program sucks, this doesn't work, I haven't lost any weight, I can't believe you sell gym memberships here, this is a lie, this is a crock, this is a scam. I showed up 5 times this month for 10 minutes and nothing happened. That's the analogy of what you're doing when you say you're working the business. If the minimum's 15, watch this. Like in the world today, people think they can do less than minimum activity and have good results. Here's what's interesting. The minimum activity is 15 presentations. Minimum. If you do 15 presentations, what kind of results are you going to get? And the answer is not good results, and the answer is not minimum results. You're going to get almost no results from doing minimum activity, other than you might get somebody in started. I've watched people present to 15 people and get 5. I have seen that. I have a smart aleck on my team that presented to 7 people and sponsored all 7 of them. I wanted to punch him in the face hard. But guess what? Then he went 0 for 7. I was like, see, law of averages work out. And he was mad. He thought he was doing something wrong. I'm like, no, man, that's the cards. That's how it works. Keep going. Now, if you show 30 presentations, which is more than average activity, right? You'll get average results. You'll get average results. You'll get a couple people in. Some will still leave, but you'll have a couple left. What I found is that 15 presentations, you'll get people in, but you're just kind of replacing the person that's leaving constantly. In and out, in and out, in and out, hokey pokey. Because a lot of people do that in network marketing, period. It's not just network marketing, though. It's everything. If you put in between 30 and 45, if you move up, right, now you're up to 45 presentations, which is above average, way above average. This is where you get average to above average results. Isn't that horrible? And of course, once you break the next level, if you break 60 presentations, which is really just 2 a day, if you break 60 presentations, which is like outstanding results, you will get, or outstanding activity, you'll get excellent results. The only thing I ever tracked or taught people to track was how many presentations. Watch this, until you get that part down, there's nothing else to track. There's nothing else to learn. There's nothing else to learn. It's like signing up for Uber or Lyft and coming all the time and being like, what do? You get in your car, but you're not getting in the car. Is there any other training that I can have before I get in the car to make this work, not being in the car? The answer is no. No, yeah, own Uber. You can start your own. That's how not to get in the car and still make money. But people will ask that question. Well, how else can I make money without presenting but still have the money come in? You can't. Like, it doesn't work like that. It's like people look for like gym programs where they don't have to eat right, they don't have to work out, they don't have to watch what they're doing, but they still get the amazing body. That's called a fantasy. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Bess. And I hope you got a lot out of it.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, got a lot out of that. The 10 people that you listed, in case people here would like to try that, do you meet with them in person or is this by phone?
The presentation is identical to what we've always taught.
The 10-minute presentation. Yeah, asking for a favor. Okay, so it can be done by phone. You wouldn't, even though they're like VIPs, you wouldn't necessarily meet in person.
Right.
Okay. And then you connect them up with a third party.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. It's doable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okie dokie. So, yeah, welcome David Roeder, who's popped on here, and Steve Redden, who's popped on. So glad to see you. And so what I want to share tonight is now you have your massive monthly action plan. What you do is you decide how many presentations. And even before I met Jeff, I was coaching people to, yeah, just track your presentations. That's all. It's like, that is really, 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 really true. Right? The customers, the recruits come later and on all of that, and then you get people to meetings. But all you have to do is track the presentations. People want to tell me this whole story, you know, as a coach. Well, this is how many people I called today. I said, I just care about how many when we're tracking, I just care about how many presentations. This is how many people I signed up. You know, they're tracking all this other stuff. It's like I want to know one thing: how many actual presentations. I don't care how many calls or how many invitations you sent out took to get to those presentations. I just care how many P's you did. So we just call them P's. And so I have a few tips about that. But all you have to do is decide what kind of business do you want to have? You know, a minimal one, or an average one, or an excellent one, and decide how many presentations you want to do a month, and break that down into days. Are you going to work 20 days of the week, or are you going to work 30 days of the week? And divide that up, and then just keep inviting people every day until you get to those presentations. You send the text, the favor script out to those people, or call your leads, or strike up conversations on Facebook with people, and you keep going until you get those the number of presentations that you decided that you want to do for that day. So that's real simple, right? That is your action plan. I do want to just throw a little commercial in for doing a challenge. Encouragement, I'll say, for you to do a challenge. This is still mid-January, beginning, or 2/3 of the way through January, and there's still time in the year to do a 30, 60, or 90-day challenge. And it's better to front load your year by doing this up front. If you are doing a challenge, guess what? You do 10 presentations a day for the first 10 days, and then follow up with those people, and then sign them up and get them started right. So you're doing 10 presentations a day. It does slow down in the beginning. You can do a little more than that. But then as you go, it starts slowing down because you're going to need to follow up with the people. So you don't just exactly do 10 every day, but you could do 15, then it gradually dwindles down to 14 and so on until you're doing maybe less than 10 by the time you get down to your end of your 10 days. But the goal is to present to 100 people in 10 days. And you can start out high and then begin following up with them and slow down. And then you You follow up with them, get them started right, get them signed up and started right. So of that, and many people have found that they can recruit an average of showing your business and your product to 100 people in 10 days. The average research has shown that you can expect to recruit 20 people in that time. And especially if they're qualified people like Jeff just ran through, and especially if you use a favor script with them. So that is good results because you're compacting it all and you're squishing it all into 10 days and doing it real fast, because your activity will be contagious. You won't have any downtime to gear your energy back up again. People are attracted to all of that activity, and the people will come in together. It's almost like they'll be in a class together, so they'll see each other and that social proof and all that, rather than coming in slowly and dripping over the course of 6 to 12 months if these same 20 people come in. Because at the end of that, the results is you coming out the other end, like months later, you hardly have any top earners. But if you do it fast, you usually have 1 to 3 top earners come out of that, and double the results you'd have if you go slow. So just a little encouragement to use the beginning of this year, this January, include that in your monthly massive action plan. See if you can do that. Yes, you can work full-time and still do that. People have done 10 presentations a day while they're working full-time. They just really, really cleared their schedules, got their significant other's agreement, and they worked after hours and on weekends. They worked around the clock on weekends and on weekdays after they get home from work. It can be done even for somebody working a full-time job. So if you're full-time network marketer, think how much that you could get done when you focus on and clear everything else out of the way. And Jeff and I support people in this. I've coached dozens of people through challenges in network marketing, and they've had phenomenal results. They've jumped ranks. They've surpassed their own goals many times because I work with them clearing out the mind. For those who want to, I clear out the mindset beforehand and upgrade their skills and sort of polish them up so that send them out, get them all ready, get all their contact lists ready and all that stuff. So when they do hit their launch, they are running on all engines, or all 8 cylinders, I guess. Okay, so one of the members in the MLM Millionaire Academy asked me about procrastination and distraction, because you have all this in mind. You decide how many you want to do for your monthly massive action plan. Are you doing a challenge this month, or are you going to do 15 or 30 or 45 or 60? How many are you going to do? How fast do you want to go? What kind of results do you want to get? And the favor script, remember that's in the and How to Do Your 10-Minute Presentation is in the Always Get a Yes book on pages 5 to 12. So you have all of that. You have all the lessons that we've been doing and the replays and everything. You have everything that you need to get going. Now, sometimes people ask me, well, why am I still not going? Why do I get distracted? Why do I procrastinate? And as this person said, well, my main enemy is the electronic income reducer, which is a TV. And so what happens is if we watch TV, then we feel guilty because we watch TV, and so to feel better, we watch TV. And what I found, my own personal distractions is YouTube. And sometimes I do need some right brain and music and all that stuff. And sometimes I do need that. But what I found for me when I was really observing myself this week in response to this person's question was I noticed that I will do a YouTube or your distraction could be social media or Facebook or whatever, but I will do that when it's easier than the hard thing that I know that I want to be doing. We go for the easier in the moment, like, oh, okay, I know I want to do this hard thing, like talk to people or make my calls, my presentations, but for just this moment, this is let me just have something. This is easier to do than that, so we default to the easier thing. But then for me, one YouTube leads to another because YouTube shows me all these cool things that it knows that I like, and so that can be distraction. And I go to YouTube to post my videos and then send them out in my emails and everything. But when I open it up, it's almost like I know that's going to be a real tempting thing. For some people, it would be, I don't eat chocolate or anything, or junk food, but for some people that would be like opening up a box of chocolates, and there's all this cool stuff that I want to learn that, and I want to know that, and this personal growth, and or this comedy, or this music, or something like that, or this interview with this person, and I do learn a lot from there too. But is it keeping me from what's the most important thing? So I'm going to talk about that. Some people will even use other things to get distracted, like changing the cat litter, checking their emails, checking in on social media. And I'll find myself doing this around the house. I'll say, oh, I know that I want to, do this harder thing. For me personally, that's right now writing copy for my website. It's a lot of work to think of what people need, to collect all the things that I do, which are so many, and present it. But I'll say, oh, but the chicken needs cutting up, or something like that, or if people have a cat, the cat litter needs changed, because that's easier in the moment than doing that hard thing. So we default to that. And I find another way that I get tripped up is when I'm tired. At night, when it's late at night and I have just a little bit of my battery left, I should be getting ready to go to bed, brush my teeth and do all the things I need to do to get ready to go to bed. Have I stretched today? Have I done all that? Well, instead of doing that, that sounds like, I'm really, really tired. I just have a little bit of energy left, but okay, I'll get to that. But real quick, this would be easier, watching this YouTube or something, or following a friend on Facebook, or seeing if my son posts any new pictures of our grandbaby or something like that. And then I see somebody else's post and get, off and on that. So when I'm tired, or when I open up YouTube, I've identified my two weakest points. And what I found really helps is that I treat my marketing hours, when I reach out to new people for my coaching work or for the school, I can set a timer on that and say, okay, I'm going to give myself an hour. The person I spoke with said, wow, I can't do presentations for 2 or 4 or 6 hours a day. I would go start crazy. He said, well, then just do it for an hour, and then go for a walk, or do something with your body, or some housework, or another kind of job maybe that you get paid for using your body. Do something, alternate those two. Do an hour of presentations, and then maybe take a walk around the block, or exercise, or do something else, or household chores. But if you set a timer on your hour or your 45 minutes and say, then I'm going to give myself a reward, like I'll be on Facebook for 15 minutes, or go for a walk, or exercise, or listen to music or something, we're more likely to, if a timer's going, we know that it's going to have an end, it's going to have a limit. We're more likely to focus and say, nothing else get into this moment. Even the emails, believe it or not, the emails could wait 45 minutes. There's hardly ever an urgent email or Facebook message that can't wait until you're done with that sacred time that you are going to give to build your business and build your future. Close the door to your office. Turn your phone on Do Not Disturb. Sometimes I even put a sign on my door here in case a neighbor comes over, wants to visit or something. I put a Do Not Disturb sign on the door, and they respect that. So that is your sacred time to give with no interruptions. And when we get distracted, they say it takes 20 minutes to get back to where we were again. But if you do treat that as sacred time, and you realize that you can't afford the distraction, when I know that I'm going to give this time to my business or marketing my business, then the distractions that normally say, oh, I have time for this, or I have time for that, and then I realize, no, I don't. I do not have time for those little things, or to watch to watch this or follow this article or something like that if I want to reach my goal. I cannot afford that 10 minutes or 5 minutes to take that detour. I cannot afford that detour if I want to reach my goal. I'll take the detour if I don't care about my goal, because that's what I'm really saying. If I take that detour, I'm saying, I really don't care about my goal. I really don't care if I reach it or not, or change my life, or better my family's life, or help other people to change their lives. I care more about forgetting it for a little while, going on this other little trip. So, as a body-mind psychologist, here's a few tips. Number one, look at the feelings that crop up when you avoid doing something that you know that you want to be doing. And a lot of times there's fear in there. Okay, well, what do I fear is going to happen if I talk to this person? They're going to say, oh, you're crazy, don't call me. What's the worst case scenario if you do it? And even if the worst case scenario was that person would say, like it happened to Eric Worre one time, he said, you know, the person essentially, when Eric was new and starting, the person essentially said, well, you know, I'm an influential person. Who do you think you are? And you know, never call me. This is a silly, crazy idea of yours, Eric, and never call me again about any of this stuff. And Eric just like was crushed, and he just crumbled inside of himself, and he fell into a crumbled little ball on the floor and couldn't get up for a long time. You know, this is like the person the most influential person, he was scared to call, he did that, and they crushed him. That will hardly ever happen to you, but it happened to Eric in the beginning, and he was down on the floor for a while. Can you think of a worst case scenario that could happen to you? I don't think I can, but it happened to him. He was on the floor until he started to get mad. And he said, this was a friend of my father's, a friend of the family, somebody that I looked up to. How dare he crush my dream? How dare he tell me that I can't do this? And he said, I'm gonna do this. You know, that wasn't very nice of him. It wasn't very encouraging of him. Somebody starting a new business like that. And he realized that even that guy was a big shot. He wasn't gonna, you know, he's not gonna let that stop him. And that wasn't a very good thing to say to a young man approaching him. Could have said it in a different way, but the best thing that I like is that he was still okay, right? The worst thing that could happen, you know, he was slain, he was burnt to a crisp, but he was still okay. It actually made him stronger in his business. So just ask, what's the worst thing? You know, if it's tough for you to make your calls, your presentations, just think, well, what's the worst thing that could happen to me? And could I survive that like Eric did? You know, he didn't actually physically die. We know. So what's the worst thing? Yeah, just get out the fears and take a good look at them. There's probably a 1/1,000,000th of a chance that could happen to you. And if it did, you could survive it. So second thing is take out the negative, look at the negative beliefs behind that. Like a lot of negative beliefs could be like, well, I should do everything perfect, and so I might mess it up, so I should wait and just listen to all of the 10 core, 100 times before I go out and do it. No, we're not perfect, but we can get better. And when we blow something, we can say, that's okay, I am learning. And I'm always going to be learning, and there's always going to be the next step to learn. And a lot of times if I do something and it's not perfect, I can change it, I can improve it, and I can even get help. I can get feedback. If I'm not very good at this, I can bring the questions to the 10 core, the Sunday night classes. When it's time for the questions and answer session, I can ask my questions there. So whatever block you run into, you don't have to be perfect. But give it a try, because if you don't ask the person, it's already a no. So you can't go any lower than that. So why not? And we know that the negative beliefs are in there, and negative thinking about ourselves when we catch ourselves saying I should and I must, or I can't, or I'm not good at this, then we know that's a self-esteem issue, and we need to support our self-esteem. The way that I coach people, one way to coach people to do this is to look in the mirror and say, I am valuable and lovable. Whether people join me in my business or opportunity or not, I'm still valuable and lovable. Now, here is 2 tricks. One is to make the thing, I like this a lot, make the thing that you're avoiding more attractive than the distraction. And how do you do that? You focus on what it will give you. You focus on the results, not on the doing of the thing. You want to build a beautiful house and enjoy it. Focus on how it will feel to be in that house, and keep that vision, keep that excitement while you're laying the foundation and laying the bricks and building, pouring the cement, and putting up the wood, whatever those are called, the 2x4s, and building the frame of the house, and then the drywall and the roof and everything. All those steps, why are they enjoyable? Why will they be wonderful to take the steps? Because you have in mind, this is where I'm going to live, or this is where my family and I are going to live, and have a lot of wonderful, warm memories that we're going to make here together for our lifetime. This is a house that I am building, that we are building, to be able to have this for our family, or raise our kids here, or invite the grandkids here. Think of all the love that's going to be going on in there, in the rooms, and what you want to use the rooms for. That gives the energy to the doing of it. But you focus on the results the whole time. Keep your eye on the results, because failure is that fearful thing that we see when we take our eye off the results and off the goal. And that becomes more desirable, more attractive than the distraction. That's much more fun than watching TV, right? Building a house for your home and your family compared to watching TV, no contest, because of the results. But if you just focus on, this is hard work, and lifting the bricks and putting them in place and nailing the stuff in the hot sun and sweating and all that stuff, if you focus on the hard work of it, you're forgetting the results, why you're doing it. And this is going to be memories and love and family and all that. So we focus on the results, on the doing. And another good benefit is when you feel good yourself. You feel powerful, you feel capable, you feel proud of yourself for doing that, you feel unstoppable. And you actually feel, like you could do anything. Is there anything better than the real effort that you put into a thing that you believe in? What can be better than that? For some people, they just feel lighter because that thing is off their plate. Like, I've had things on my to-do list forever that I finally got around to accomplishing because I had deadlines with it last fall, and I feel so much lighter. Like, those were just hanging on me on the back of my head for a couple of years, but finally got those off my plate, and I feel so much freer and lighter. So that's how that's the tip, the hack about how to use the positive to motivate you. Now, so there are a few people who the negative motivates them. One guy that I coached, he goes, well, Bess, I'm actually motivated by fear, by the fear of lack, of not making money. That's what actually motivates me more than all the positive stuff. So if you're the type of person who's motivated by the negative, then what you can do is say, well, what is the price if I don't do this thing? What's the price going to be financially or emotionally, or the regret or the shame that I might have if I don't do this, if I don't do my presentations a day, every month, every day that I decide how many I want to do a day? How will I feel? How much worse will I feel for not having done it? What am I going to stand to lose for not having done it? How will my life, my career, my family, what else will suffer or my health or my stress or my well-being, how will that suffer? So for some people, that is more powerful. And I do have a really powerful exercise that I've led people through called the deathbed exercise that takes us to an extreme. It's where you walk to the end of your life and you haven't done the stuff that you know you have the potential to do and the lives that you could have changed and everything, and you haven't done it. You've watched TV instead. How does that feel? The regret. How will that feel? So I encourage people to take it to the extreme, because guess what? The end of life could come tomorrow, but it comes always. Even if it comes 50 years from now, it will still come faster than we all think. And will we have regrets, or will we be satisfied and fulfilled because we did what we came here to do? We lived up to our potential. We helped people. We love people. We helped change lives. Okay, here's a few quick other tips to decrease procrastination. Number one, pretend that you're Superman or Wonder Woman. Get into the frame of mind. What will it take to accomplish that thing? And get into it. Take a few minutes and get into it and feel it before you go and talk to people, before you set out doing your presentations for that day. Because that's a very capable feeling. So when have you felt like that? When have you felt very powerful and kind of unstoppable and unbeatable? And remember that time in your life. Tony Robbins used that one time with a guy who had a tennis player, had a whole lot of wins, and then he had a bunch of losses, and he was sort of in that downward spiral of realizing that he had lost a bunch of times. And he got a hold of him, and he said, remember when you won. How did that feel? Capture that feeling again. Bring that feeling to the next game. And the guy won. So it's the same with us. When have you accomplished something in your life and that you were real proud of yourself and you just felt unstoppable? You felt really super powerful. And apply that. Stay in that state. Bring that state to your presentations. Now here's a quick body-mind tip that goes along with that. As a body-mind therapist for 30 years, I know that what we do with our body changes our mind and emotions. So does Tony Robbins. And here's a quick tip. Wherever you are now, stand up and put your fists on your waist to where your elbows are sticking out. You cannot do this without feeling more confident and more powerful. So I invite you to do that right now. Stand up and put your elbows out to where you're in a Superman pose or a Wonder Woman pose. Now you can do this while you're on the phone. You can have the phone propped up in front of you and you could be making your calls like this. Another thing that I do encourage you to do in standing, if you want to bring more energy to your call, sometimes I just pace and I walk back and forth when I'm coaching somebody in a real active coaching session. Another tip is to stand in the horse stance, which is where your feet are 2 of your foot lengths apart. The outsides of your feet are straight ahead, and you bend your knees slightly because this lowers your center of gravity and grounds you. This creates a feeling of powerfulness, and this is a posture that the martial artists use to get grounded and focused and effective. And if you focus on your body to this degree of standing with your feet 2 foot lengths apart, the outsides of your feet straight ahead, bend your knees slightly to where they come over your toes and widen them as far as your toes. And then hold your pelvis level because that brings the best chance for breathing. And breathe into your belly. Relax your sphincter muscles. Have your spine be straight, your shoulders low and relaxed, your head over your shoulders and level. Right there, that's the horse stance. That is an ancient posture that known to Tai Chi and Qigong, which is over 3,000 years old. But you can take advantage of that. Just, you can learn this in a minute and do this in a minute and become more powerful and confident. By noticing all these little parts of your body, you become more focused. That eliminates distraction and procrastination. When you become focused, you learn how to focus on these little parts of your body and to focus on your breath. Because when you breathe deeply, guess what? You can't be scared. You change your emotion right away. It's psychologically impossible, physiologically impossible. Science has shown that you cannot be in fear and breathe deeply at the same time. So how about that? It's just a choice. Do that before you make your calls and during the time you make your calls. Body-mind is not rocket science. Charlie Brown knows that. Charlie Brown, the comics. He would tell Lucy, he goes, he'd stand there with his head hanging down. She goes, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm being depressed." He said, "If you want to be properly depressed, you have to stand like this. Because if I stand up straight and bring my head up, I cannot be depressed. You just have to do it this way. If you want to be depressed," you know, that was his specialty, being depressed. So he knew that's what posture does. Okay, a second little cool little hack I wanted to share with you is to keep a wall of done. I did that today. Besides the long list of stuff that you have to do, balance it out with a wall or bulletin board or something like that of sticky notes of all the things that you've accomplished. So when you have a sticky note, you know, you've accomplished, move it from your to-do list over to your done wall. And then you can look at that done wall and say, "Hey, I've done that." You know, you feel better about yourself because it's not all on the to-do list. You might forget what you've already done, and it can boost your confidence and your hope to move those things from one wall to the other. Number 3 tip is just to take one thing at a time. My lists are really, really long, my to-do list, things that I want to do, but I have to separate them to what's a priority right now. If I look at the whole darn list, then I'm going to get overwhelmed and discouraged and say, how could I ever hope to accomplish that? And I'll round this up in a couple minutes. But when we break things down and do one thing at a time, that makes it doable. It's almost like clearing your desk. I'm just going to do this one thing. You know, I'm going to do it till it's done. I'm not going to get distracted by all these other things on my list. And I might give myself a reward at the end of that time. You know, it might be listening to music or a few minutes on Facebook or something like that. Number 4, create a deadline for doing it and tell someone. Tell your mate, I'm going to make these 5 presentations a day, or I'm going to give myself these 2 hours here, or I'm going to accomplish this by a certain deadline. I'm going to do my 2 hours a day for my work right as soon as I get home from work. 2 hours of calls and presentations as soon as I get home from work. And then tell someone to hold you accountable with that. Not that they would, you know, make you feel bad for not doing it or something, but there could be a consequence. You could say, if we do that, we go out and we have dinner together. Or if I don't do that, I have to pay you $10 for every time that I don't meet my deadline. Number 5 tip is get a support buddy. Somebody that you know could be on your team, upline, cross line, somebody even here in the school, and say, let's make our calls. Let's make an hour of calls, 2 hours of calls a day. And when we're done at the end of that, let's call each other. Let's say we make our calls from, 6 to 8 p.m. every night after work. And when we're done, we're going to text each other that we did that. We did that calls, or how many presentations we got done. Or when I get my 3 presentations done a day or 5 a day, I'm going to text you and let you know when I've completed them. That would be an accountability buddy. Number 6, work outside the homes. There's less distractions. Some people will go to a coffee shop or Starbucks. Number 7, my final tip is just start. Because a lot of times it's the first thing that's hard. So you just say, okay, what if I just do one today? What if I just make one call today? But once you get started, then a lot of times it's easier. So you can trick yourself and say, I'm just going to do one. So hope that helps. Some quick final reminders is that planning is not the same as doing it. And you may have a good sense of time, but not as good a sense as the timer does. That's the reality check. So I do like using the timer. hope this helps. Gone over. Hope that was okay with everyone. And let's open it up now. Of course, next time we've done number 10 tonight, so next class will be a recap of the 10 core. That's always a wonderful event, wonderful class. And let's open it up now for takeaways. Let's hear your favorite takeaway, and let's start with area code 970, who's